Why is the
Yeah.
book called The Matrix? I mean, it's a list of 10 things to do, and what is on the other plane?
Yeah, so if you say we have the list going across horizontally, vertically, what we look at is each department in the organization. So maybe you have the sales team vertical, you have your executive team. They have a role that they play with your customer. Your project management team has a role that they play with your customer. Your install team might have a role they play with the customer. So we create a matrix and look for where are the strengths and weaknesses and do a bit of an analysis for every company that we work with so that we can come up with a strategy of how to strengthen the overall approach and look for our weak spots, shore those up, build upon our strengths. And that's how the matrix was created.
Hi, I'm Zorina Dimitrova, and welcome to the Grow and Learn podcast. Here I host thought leaders on business growth, transformation, leadership, and succeeding in life and business with a human focus. At Grow and Learn, we are the only ones offering uniquely customized solutions to business needs using a cutting-edge AI business growth assessment tool and a global network of top-tier experts to craft and execute strategies that drive impactful results. If you're ready to grow smarter, book a call today at growandlearn.org and let's transform your business together. Enjoy this episode. We are moving away from transactional business and to relationship and transformational business models. Chris Jennings is a top speaker in the Vistage Group. He's also a triathlon athlete. He can tell you more about his accomplishments in a bit. Hi, Chris. Welcome.
Thank you, Serena. Glad to be here. Appreciate you having me.
Absolutely my pleasure. Chris, you've been in the business of selling through relationships for the past 40 years.
30, yeah.
30, yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to make you older.
That's okay.
How has
Yeah,
it evolved business over time in terms of uh, relational versus transactional or the other way around?
sure. So I think that most business was conducted through relationships in the beginning. So we get technology, the internet shows up in the 90s, around 2000, it's really advancing. Emails taking over, texting, LinkedIn, AI shows up, mid 2010s or late 2010s. And what's ended up happening over time is I would say the art and science of how to have a conversation with somebody else has been evaporating. And a lot of people are entering the business world fully knowledgeable on how to do email campaigns and post on LinkedIn. But when it comes to actually having a conversation and building a meaningful, authentic relationship, people struggle. And so I'd say that's probably a synopsis of the evolution of what's been happening with relationships.
Very interesting. Do you think that this is a result of the increased use of technology and the appearance of various applications that replace personal communication and personal relationships, or does it have to do with other factors?
Yeah, I think it's a couple of factors. Certainly, technology is playing a part. The fact that you can just send a bunch of emails and all of a sudden people go, "Hey, we're interested in that." And sometimes it easily turns into business. Sometimes those opportunities evaporate because we didn't transition from that electronic form of communication well to the live form of communication, and there was a disconnect rather than a connection. So the key, in my opinion, is to be able to transition smoothly from any sort of electronic or technology outreach that you're using into a very meaningful, almost immediately meaningful and authentic conversation and relationship. Which why I called my first book Conversations Made Easy, because I felt like people needed a model to follow so they didn't feel like they were just selling and presenting, that they actually wove that into the fabric of the conversation that they are having with their clients. I would
Mhm.
say, though, the second reason, what's ended up happening because you're able to rely on technology to create a lot of connections, at least initially, the amount of fear and lack of confidence that people have in talking to other human beings has grown.
Mhm.
So I see a lot of people talk about anxiety as a regular word that comes up when it comes to calling somebody. I feel anxious about having a conversation. I feel anxious about talking to them live, seeing them in person. And so I think fear and lack of confidence is also somewhat growing. And, I'm not exactly sure all the reasons. I have my guesses, but I see a lot of that, certainly.
Mhm. So in your book, when it comes to the methodology that you lay out for people, is this book based on psychology? What are the elements of it, or is it just like steps one, two, three? How do you lead them to lead more meaningful conversations?
Sure. So, a few of the things we do, one, we lay out a model for having an effective conversation with ideas of what to say and what not to say. Because unfortunately, in sales conversations, most of the things that have been taught over the years are obnoxious, and nobody wants to say anything like that to anybody or have that said to them. So I really try to like dispel some of the myths about what people think sales is supposed to be and we give a very, very easy to follow model of how to have an appropriate conversation. And then we offer a lot of tools based in coaching and developing those skills and how to have a good conversation and some how to set great next steps, how to ask for referrals, and how to develop, if you're part of a team, how can you develop those skills that are important inside that team? And some of which is based in psychology. We have a lot of emotional intelligence woven in there. We are looking at certain profiles like people's disc orientation, and really with the eye on developing and growing the communication skill set for one person talking to another.
Mhm. What do you mean by disorientation?
Oh, DISC is a as a model based. It's out of Myers-Briggs. It's a kind of four quadrant model of some people are direct, some people are friendly, some people are detail, some people are accommodating, and so it's just another model of how to read an audience. So we spent a lot of time on reading an audience and then learning how to participate in active listening and repeating back what people are saying and really being engaged in the conversation, very focused on the conversation, so that the conversation you're having with your audience is more meaningful than they're having with your competitors. So that's really part of what we're after.
Mhm. In Chris Jennings Group, is this a consulting group where you training and consulting? What do you do in your company?
Yeah, we do coaching, training, consulting. So we work with individuals. At this point, I'd say mostly companies, and it's very typical for us to be working with an organization somewhere probably between 10 million and 200 million in revenue. And we are working with the leadership team, including the CEO or owner, as well as any sales leadership people, any sales teams, business developers. And we spend a lot of time with a group we call the special teams players, which are all the customer facing individuals in an organization that are not labeled sales or business development, but those project managers, those drivers, installers, technicians that have to interface with clients, and we give them a model as well to effectively work as a team with those customers that they're serving.
Mhm. In your experience, have you found that the models are reducing the level of anxiety? Because I have the feeling that sometimes people, whenever given a very fixed structure, that raises their anxiety.
Yeah, I actually my experience is it makes it easier for people to talk to one another because the we're not telling you exactly what to say. We're just giving you some guidelines, some steps to follow. Exactly how it comes out should always come out in your language, and we don't give any scripts. We
Mhm.
just give guidelines for a conversation so that you could be looking at your notes the entire time and referencing them. And you'd bring it up in the way that is authentic to you, which is going to resonate better with your customers. So I always one of the tips that we always give people is to record your calls and listen to them. So we're, whether on a Zoom meeting or however you're talking to somebody, record your calls, listen to them later. And I always ask people if you sound if you sound different and I would suggest if you sound different talking to your customer or to your prospect than you do talking to your friend or family or colleagues,
Mm.
then you're doing something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because your audience is gonna notice that you're there's something different about the way you're communicating. So we want you very much to be your authentic self. We want you to be true to who you are. We're just giving you guidelines to follow to make sure that you're checking some boxes as you go through the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Is there an industry or type of business where this doesn't apply well, or does it apply across the line?
I mean, if it's an internet transaction and you're ordering new dish towels through Amazon, it does not apply. Right? If you're buying $10 worth of gasoline or petrol at the station, it does not apply. But if it's a high-end retail, meaning your purchase is if it's business to consumer and your purchase is probably $1,000 or more, or it's any business to business setting, then it's going to apply, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we've worked for law firms, we work with CPAs, we work with software firms, we work with construction firms, we work with manufacturing, in-home sales, remodelers. There's really not a place I can think of that where sales doesn't come up. I mean, if there's a transaction that's supposed to occur, then there's some degree of a sales conversation that needs to happen. So.
Mm-hmm. I can see in your background the client retention matrix, your one of your
Yes.
books.
Yeah.
What is this book about?
So if our first book, Conversations Made Easy, is really about finding and attracting customers, new customers, and how to initiate relationships. The client retention matrix, which is the follow-up to Conversations Made Easy, is now that you have this customer, how do you keep them for the longest possible time? Meaning, and are they buying everything from you that you offer? Because most companies that I find could probably be twice the size that they are and never get a new customer if they just got the current customers they have to actually take advantage of all the services and products that they offer. So in the client retention matrix, we focus on a 10-step process to make sure that you're maximizing every relationship that you have in a very thoughtful way and focused on your customers' goals and executing a really well-run onboarding program when you onboard them, maintaining that relationship through great quarterly business reviews, and expanding your business through referrals to other people who could use your help because all of your customers know other customers that could be buying from you. The question is asking for referrals a part of your process or not? It's not a
Mhm.
part of your process, then there's a really good chance that you're missing out on a ton of opportunities. And, unfortunately, there's a lot of people missing out on lots of opportunities because they'd never asked for referrals or they're afraid to ask for referrals. And they might already have great relationships with their clients. It's just not a habit they've formed.
Mhm.
So it's really a way to engage the entire organization, including that special teams group, to put your arms around the customer and make them feel appreciated and in a very thoughtful way. So that's what
Mhm.
the client retention matrix is about.
So asking for referrals is one of the 10 steps in the client retention matrix. Is that correct?
Uh,
Or no?
it's woven in there. Yes, it's woven in. And it's a primary strategy. Like I said before, I think if you did whatever you did, you went on the internet, you got on a podcast, and you posted your podcast in 1,000 places, and one new customer called you, and you got that customer. Well, that customer, if they fall in love with you, should be introducing you to at least two other customers so that you're multiplying the effect of all of the time, money, and energy that you're putting into your marketing effort. If
Mhm.
you're not effectively asking for referrals, then you're not really getting the full effect of your marketing spend and your whatever your sales effort is. And you're kind of starting from scratch every time. It's a lot harder,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, for sure. What are some other, can you share a few other steps to retention?
Sure. Yeah. A huge part of it is really in the onboarding. and setting the customer up for success. One of the things that we talk about in the client retention matrix is how to train your new customer to become the best customer that you've ever had. And if you thought about it in those terms, every time you got a new customer, what could you do to ensure that they had a successful run with you? Because not every customer knows how to be a great customer of yours. And I feel like it's the service provider or product provider's obligation to train and teach that customer in that onboarding process how to become a great customer of theirs. And that would include things like managing expectations, talking about common misunderstandings that maybe customers might have, helping them avoid a really common problem that comes up when they first start working with you so that they don't have to have the full impact of perhaps experiencing that problem. You're mitigating your loss or mitigating risk for your customer out of the gate and taking just a very thoughtful approach because if you're very thoughtful in your approach, here's one thing I often find when somebody hires somebody new, when they first hire them, they're probably 50% convinced that they made a good choice to bring in a new service provider. 50% of them is like, I think it's going to work. 50% of them is thinking, I hope it doesn't go wrong,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's about 50-50. So if your onboarding is excellent, if your onboarding is thoughtful and thorough and really reassures the customer they made a great choice, it instantly relaxes them. They're more inclined to start to look for how this will work versus to look for how this won't work. And so it sets the stage for a successful relationship. And we go into a lot of detail with onboarding checklists and process and ideas about how to avoid some of the problems that people have had. And if you get great at onboarding, it's going to significantly impact your results.
Makes absolute sense. Why is the
Yeah.
book called The Matrix? I mean, it's a list of 10 things to do, and what is on the other plane?
Yeah, so if you say we have the list going across horizontally, vertically, what we look at is each department in the organization. So maybe you have the sales team vertical, you have your executive team, they have a role that they play with your customer. Your project management team has a role that they play with your customer. Your install team might have a role they play with the customer. So we create a matrix and look for where are the strengths and weaknesses and do a bit of an analysis for every company that we work with so that we can come up with a strategy of how to strengthen the overall approach and look for our weak spots, shore those up, build upon our strengths. And that's how the matrix was created. And that's
Oh,
how we implement.
I
Yeah.
must say, I have not heard anything similar from the other sales consultants that I've spoken to. I think this is very insightful. And
Yeah, it's interesting just in my experience. Like I said, I've been a sales consultant for 30 years and I have been in business for 40 years, but I was 10 years before doing other things and some in large corporate and some in entrepreneurship. But I would say the first 10 to 15 years of our sales consulting practice, we really didn't focus in as much on client retention and expansion. But the last 15 years, we doubled down on that, created these tools, eventually got our book out. And we're building some online learning platforms. So for if you can go to Amazon if people want and buy the books. And now we've got some online tools for people to do self tutorials if that's what you like to do at night is study new material, then we've got some tutorials for you. And some of that's available at courses.chrisjenningsgroup.com. And really what we're trying to do, and I'm glad you have an international shows arena. I've my goal here in the latter years of my career is just really to get the word out to more people, right? Doing business through referrals is a smarter way to do business. It's a more
yeah.
cost effective. If you're struggling with referrals, we have a whole chapter devoted in the client retention matrix, and we have a lot of tools that we've created to make that easier for you to do. and that client retention, all of those client retention matrix tools are in that and in our online tools. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Chris, I asked you a question about the development of your or the sales strategy over the years, but now let's look a little bit forward.
sure.
What's what do you think is the impact of AI? I mean, clearly it's at the moment perceived to be affecting only um, lower cost products and services, something that is more transactional, as you say. But it's developing so fast that, I wouldn't be surprised if it enters higher ticket
Oh yeah,
items.
yeah.
Yeah.
Look, AI
Mhm.
is here to stay, and you got to get on board. I recommend people spend at least an hour a week starting to educate yourself on the different AI tools that are available. We are using AI in sales in a number of different ways. And the quote we've been sharing lately is AI won't replace humans, but humans who use AI will replace humans that don't use AI.
Mhm.
So, in order to maintain your efficiency and maintain your competitive edge, you're going to use AI to help with your call auditing. So, I said before, one of the ways that we can help people, and for years we've had people send us their recorded versions of their sales calls, and we'll listen to anybody's sales call and tell you exactly what's wrong with the call, and we'll tell you exactly how to fix it. And we're using AI tools to help monitor certain aspects of the call. And so if you're not installing an AI, call monitoring system, you're missing out. If you're not using AI to help find lead sources, you're really missing out. If you're not using AI to do advanced research for you, you're missing out. So there's a number of areas where you can start to use AI, and of course, over time they're going to build, and those will grow. At a certain point, it will level out, and yes, everybody will have same access to the same tools, but you're going to be at a competitive disadvantage if you're not educating yourself.
Mhm.
So, and some of the things that we're working on too, we have some AI tools that work with 24/7 answering questions that people have and setting appointments for you. There's a number of ways that we're using it.
Mhm.
And that will just continue to grow, I'm sure, for years to come.
Yeah. How trainable are people when it comes to sales? Is it inborn or, yeah, I mean, clearly it can be trained, but to what extent?
So great question. And I've seen everything over the years. I would say, if I said I probably have 20% out of 100 people that I work with or that our team works with, 20 of those people, we transform their careers. They double their income. They have phenomenal results. I would say 60% of those people improve, get a little bit better because they're learning something new. 20% of those people are committed to not changing, are too afraid to try new stuff, fear-based, and resistant. And I would say be a student of the game and surround yourself with coaches and mentors and learn from everybody, right? Every experience in life teaches you something. So if you are a lifelong learner, you're looking at every experience that you have as a learning opportunity. Every exchange with every person, and keep a notebook of all the things you're learning, and keep reading and growing and participating in courses, hiring coaches. You can only, I mean, the capacity for human beings to excel is amazing, right? It's limitless. And, people in sales, there's plenty of people in sales roles that make 50,000. There's people in sales roles that make 500,000 a year. And there's people in sales roles that make over $1 million a year. And they're probably working about the same amount of time.
Mm.
So it's a matter of how effectively are you working, and how do you maximize your opportunities, and we can't all be observant of our own mistakes. Like I make mistakes all the time. I can't see my own mistakes. So I've probably at this point in my career, I've probably invested, I'm getting I'm gonna say I'm getting, three, four, maybe $500,000 in my development after college.
Mhm.
And in everything that I do, it's a great learning experience for me. And I hope that everybody out there who has a multiplier effect in their career, invest in themselves because you are a good investment. If you're
Mhm.
not investing in yourself, like you're missing out on the best investment that's out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. So you've invested in yourself not only in terms of knowledge, but in terms of developing your physical achievements and physical, um, how should I phrase this? I don't know. You're a
It's
triathlete.
not
Yeah.
plastic surgery if that's what your audience is thinking. I think you're talking about when I got into triathlons. Probably I was in my late 30s when I first signed up for my first triathlon, and it was just because I mean I've always been a sports fan and I've always done something physical, but I always had kind of a fascination with triathlons, and I had a client that was doing one and training for one, uh, and I asked him, what do I need to do? He said, well, just pick a race and sign up and then start training, buy a bike. And so that's what I did. So I was probably, December. I remember, actually, I think it was January 1st. Let me think if I can remember the year, 2001, more or less. And, um, and I signed up for this race in April. And when I crossed the finish line for that, I didn't want to go to the first race, by the way. But when I crossed the finish line, it had this kind of endorphin rush. And then I signed up for about 4 or 5 triathlons a year for the next 15 years. Did about 60
Wow.
races. Met my wife, that I'm married to, that we're about to go celebrate our 20-year anniversary,
Congratulations.
down in Bora Bora. You and I were talking before the show.
Mhm.
And I met her because we were signed up for the same triathlon, the Malibu Triathlon, so which was a fundraiser for Pediatric AIDS Foundation. And we raised a lot of money along the way. I've had a lot of fun, and I've learned a lot, and found a great community in the triathlon community.
Mhm.
And that's one thing I would encourage your listeners to do is like really think about the communities they're involved in, and that can be online communities and physically people around you. Who are your communities? Who are you growing from? And I mean that in every way possible, personally, professionally, physically, emotionally, socially. Really making an investment in your communities, I think will always have a great payoff. So.
Yeah. Talking about communities, you're based in Orange County. What's the situation there at the moment? Are you in the area where the fires were or?
So we are I'd say about 40 to 50 miles south
Ah,
of the fires. I was gone during the fires. When I came home, there was ash that had blown under my door, even 40 or 50 miles
oh
south.
wow.
And I'm, not personally, we have several, unfortunately, dozens and dozens of friends that have either lost homes or friends have lost homes. And it's having a bit of an impact, probably in the film industry, because a lot of people who worked in the film industry lived in those areas. So there's some disruption there. But and it was a tragic event, and like we do in life, we confront our tragedies, and we try to move forward,
Mhm.
work through the pains of rebuilding. And the general business economy is still strong. There's opportunity. Yeah, people move out of California because California is expensive, but there's a lot of opportunity in California. So a
Mhm.
lot of people like to do business here. And throughout the world, throughout the US, there's still plenty of opportunity. I don't know how popular the US is internationally, but there's a lot of things to
It's for
like. There's
sure
a lot of
gaining popularity, I can tell you that.
it's it is it's a slippery slope there. But Uh, again, like when I've traveled abroad and internationally, I've always been well received. So I told you I was practicing my French earlier, and Because if I visit a foreign country, I really try hard to study the language of whatever country that I'm visiting. Because again, I feel like it helps me connect better with the community.
Mm.
And it's another way for me to learn. So I'm trying to keep training my brain to take on new information and keep functioning for as
Yeah.
long
Well,
as
my
I can.
perception is that people are able to, they're intelligent enough to separate politics from individuals. And
Sure.
in the end, they're communicating to an individual. It depends on you whether you're
Yeah.
liked or not.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
human beings in general want to help other human beings
that's
and
right.
care for one another. We are a communal species.
Mm,
We have, we grow together, and so I think in our core nature, of course, we want to help each other. So.
yeah.
And I'm always rooting for people, anybody who's trying harder to do better, whatever their endeavors are, I'm always rooting for them to have success. So however I can help, I'm down. So,
Wonderful. Thank you, Chris. I enjoyed this conversation very much. How can people get a hold of you, get your books, get a consultation with you?
sure. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, if you go to chrisjenningsgroup.com, you will be able to sign up for a lot of free resources. You'll be able to find our books. Our books are also listed on Amazon if you like. But if you come to chrisjenningsgroup.com, you'll probably there'll be an offer for your listeners about how to get the book even for free and cover shipping as a possibility for if they mention your show. And and you can book time with anybody on our staff, and we have a ton of resources, some free downloads there. I hope your people take advantage of some of the video content or join a live program at some point. We're rooting for all your listeners to be successful, and if we can be a small part of their success, I'll feel like this was time well spent.
Okay,
Other
fantastic.
other than the very pleasant conversation that we've had, Zarina.
Fantastic. Thank you. Can you repeat again how people can get the book? Well, where exactly do they have to quote my show so that they get it?
So if they go to chrisjenningsgroup.com, right, that we have and they click on get the book, then they'll take them
I
through the prompts on how to get the book and a book will get shipped to them. Just have to cover shipping
Yeah,
and the book is theirs. So
got it.
and like I said, and if you want it faster, you can go to Amazon and Amazon probably get it faster. But chrisjenningsgroup.com, we have the book and a lot of downloads and a lot of tools for people. So take advantage of it. That's why it's there.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
Zarina, it was a pleasure. You're a great host. Thanks very much.
You're a great guest.
I appreciate it. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you for listening to Grow and Learn. We hope that you found our podcast informative, engaging, and inspiring. Our mission is to help you keep growing and learning, and we hope that our conversations and insights have provided you with practical advice and useful perspectives. If you're looking for personalized support and guidance to help you achieve your personal or professional growth objectives, I offer a range of services to help. As a trusted management partner and mentor, I work with businesses in the process of transformation, looking for new streams of business as well as M&A. With an extensive professional network of experts and mentors, I can bring on board the right person or team based on the specific needs of the company I'm working with. To learn more about the services I offer and how I can help you achieve your goals, please visit my website at growandlearn.org. You can also reach out to me via email or social media. I'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this episode of Grow and Learn, please subscribe to our podcast and leave us a review. Your feedback is important to us and it helps us to continue to create content that is relevant and valuable to our listeners. Thanks again for listening, and we look forward to sharing more insights and perspectives with you in the future.